Hey there, it is Tasha, and today we're talking about my teeth. We're talking about green clothing, and we're talking about twin flames, Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary, and what does that have to do with really just anything? But twin flames is so hot right now. So, anyway, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm a weirdo. I'm your just friendliest neighborhood weirdo. I don't know. I'm a modern day philosopher, maybe. I believe that I'm an enlightened being. I've been sent here. We've all have like a life mission. My life mission is to communicate the secrets of the universe, the way that I understand them, and get to embody them. And my primary, like TLDR, too long, didn't listen, didn't read, is that you're here to live the life of your dreams, and I can help you do that. And so we're conscious creators. We are little gods and goddesses walking around in a universe is you inverse, and so you create your reality, and that's what we talk about here, and that's what I love to just marvel at. And so we're really leaning forward into abundance and prosperity. But first, I think it's important for me to say this thing that just I'm rambling. I'm rambling. I get paid to exist, and I exist to give. And so here I am just on YouTube. Here I am on social media. Here I am just doing what I do in the world and getting paid for it. I know that's wild, but when you know the game, you can't be played. So I'm here to live the life of my dreams. And so I speak for a living. She speaks, right? So anyway, first things first, teeth. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm missing 5 teeth. And I'm in the middle of like a restoration, restorative process. I had 5 different metal fillings at different times, and what they say about those metal fillings and what happened. So I had some active infections in my jaw. So I basically had to have the dentist rooter all that, bone graft, all kinds of stuff. So I get a little embarrassed sometimes, or I used to get embarrassed because I'm like, just as my gifts were coming online, just as I was getting this divine information and allowing it and understanding how to manage that energy, allowing that divine energy to flow through me, I started having these teeth issues. And I'm like, wait, but no, I'm about to be on camera, and I'm traveling the country and I'm speaking to people, but I'm losing my teeth left and right. Now, esoterically and metaphysically, what's happening is to be a divine, a clear channel, a clear instrument. My journey required getting a lot of this stuff out of my body. And so I've had a couple of different things through my life that I've had to get done on my body to aid in my physical healing. And so that did require some assistance. Neat. But that assistance came to an end when I realized consciously that we as humans are just energetic batteries. In order to exist in this realm, in this dimension, as a human being, we are a combination of opposites. We are an integration of a negative and positive energetic polarity. We're basically batteries that are conscious. We are basically the AI robots that everybody's afraid of, but we're conscious. Now, consciousness is your free will, your thinking ability, your sentience, your oneness, that is the consciousness of God itself through your eyes. And so that is the concern. So if we're energetic batteries, and if I put exogenous metal as a part of my actual physical being, it offsets the current of the energetic flow of my body. And the way that I assess and read my own energetic flow is through my emotion. Energy in motion is emotion. And so being trapped in overwhelm and anxiety and shame, or in worthlessness or poverty or dis-ease, being in something that feels living an experience and saying things and believing things that are of dense nature are very earthly. And the scale of the divine and the not divine has been tipped to darkness and hell. And your consciousness is that of hell on earth, that earth is here for death, that life ends. And the truth of the matter is that life is your consciousness and your awareness of it. So when you know that that's what life is, you get to change your mind. And as you change your thoughts and you keep thinking the thoughts you want to think, the more that you'll create beliefs and you are creating new neural pathways, and now you're sliding down those neural pathways. I see a snowy mountain where there's a trail versus the first one that went down, and the trail that's the divot, the actual path that's been like, now it's like ice pretty much. And our thoughts do the same thing. But to take conscious control of our thinking is to have to allow all of the barriers to break down in thought. As within, so without. This is very esoteric. This is very energetic, because this is where we are in the evolution of human consciousness. We can actually train the brain. Okay? So what does this have to do with Jesus and Mary, or Adam and Eve, or twin flames? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me take a sip of my water. I'm trying not to make this a long video. It's been 5 minutes. So. Because I have a hot date today with my 10-year-old. We're going to go to Dollar Tree and get a water sword, is what he calls it. And then we're going to go to the library. We're going to go to 2 different libraries. And because I'm a cool mom, we want ice cream. Maybe because I want ice cream. Anyway, all that to say, twin flames. So what happened was, we're consciousness, right? Our consciousness. And there are times in history where we, in the beginning, was God. God's everything, right? Everything. And then individuation happened. Light and dark, right? We're creating, the camera's off. We're creating light and dark. We're creating poles of the battery, right? So when we individuate all the way down to where God created man, he created man. And he created man and woman. Energetically, God always created in pairs. There was always, from the original, from the one, there's originally 2. So in terms of consciousness and where the bodies are, God created man and woman, and then Eve and Lilith, and we have all different diversions and all these different individuations of masculine, feminine energies. For every light, there's a dark. We know that. We're not talking about that avenue. We're talking about the energetically masculine, feminine. Okay? And within each human body, there's a left brain and a right brain. And that just means modes of processing information, sensing information, how our psyche is working together. So now we know that when you can harmonize the hemispheres of the brain, and then we kind of fall into our heart-mind coherence. I've talked about this, how this changes your auric field. And what has happened is that our consciousness now has the ability for it to live in that embodied state of heart-mind coherence. So no longer do we have to do this and do this and do this and do this and wait for them to breathe. And that's how we were learning how to create the neural pathways of consciousness. The things that we would do to help to bring ourselves in that space of inner peace, of our inner divinity, of our inner God, our Holy Spirit, right? We had to do things. We had to go to church and get in the spirit, and we had to receive it. It was very divided, but now it's embodied. It's just who you are. We've learned for thousands of years through religion how to do the dance, and now we get to feel the dance. So again, it's all about our conscious awareness of our embodied divinity, our embodied energy, our embodiment of higher energy, of our higher selves, of our souls, our soul embodiment. So, twin flames. I'm a twin flame. My former lifetime. And these are things that you have to just perceive. You can listen intellectually, but you have to feel into what I'm saying. And don't play racquetball or tennis with these ideas if they don't make sense to you. Just be open and hear the essence of the masculine, feminine in the story that I'm going to tell. It's very personal. It's my story. In my former lifetime, the consciousness of this individuation got to the point where it could no longer withstand one incarnation at that time, or beyond. It was too much. It was too much. It was too much for that one incarnation. In this incarnation, the way that I've been told is that level of consciousness now recognizes itself. Oh, God, the camera. Now recognizes itself. Okay? So just like God in the beginning created 2, let's make them in our image. Because everything is God. But in our conscious awareness for what Tasha's journey has been the journey of self-awareness, to the point where I keep looking at my patterns and my habits and my thoughts and understanding and starting to embody these things that I was taught, because all rivers lead to the same ocean. but what I was taught through Christianity to embody, and it wasn't something that I forced myself to do, it just happened effortlessly. The more that I looked in the mirror, metaphorically, literally, all the things, and began to heal myself, learned to respond, not to react, learned to own and take radical responsibility for my experience of my life. If someone's mad at me, then I go to them and ask them to forgive me if I've done something. If I haven't done something, then I'm sorry, and I work that out. And if they still hold a grudge against me, then I allow that to happen, and I hold nothing against them. I don't chase or I don't run. And to disconnect myself from everything in life is to know and to live and to embody sovereignty. Do you hear what I'm saying? And so from that place of sovereignty, my life has been beautiful. And I'll tell you the story. You'll hear the stories, whatever. It's all about self-awareness. So what is happening as my conscious is knowing more of itself, then there's this other individual who's being magnetized to me. And I'm being magnetized to them. And neither one of us are doing this on purpose, but then what has happened is soul recognition. So that last lifetime was one incarnation. In this incarnation, it's two, but I know now that we are one. Bridging the gap from the 3D to the 5D. Dimensionally. And so there's this other person. I'm an embodied divine feminine. Feminine because I identify as a female. It has nothing to do with my gender. It's my identification, my energetic identification. Okay? I feel in my body that I am female. And there is a male counterpart. Now, your bodies can look different. Male, female, it doesn't matter. Energetically. There's a male counterpart that we're magnetized to each other and then we're triggered. And that's where twin flames kind of get a toxic rap. And we're not going to go down the toxic route. This is all energetic. And so as that feminine masculine starts to see each other, there's triggerings that come up. And you are faced with your darkest, deepest fears. This person is your literal mirror of consciousness, a soul expression. Now, it's not something that you decide you want to have. When in reality, there is choice aspects and elements. And as a sovereign being, you cut every tie to this individual, even though you are inextricably drawn to them. They're there to you. But because we are batteries, and this battery, this inner masculine, this inner feminine, this battery is in my balanced energetic state. And I'm just naturally receptive because that's the feminine polarity. When you separate them, there's still two poles of the battery. Just like in our teeth and our whole systemic body system. When you mess up the flow, it messes up the natural flow of things. So as one pole of the battery, in order to balance things out, I have to come into balance within. And I cut every tie, even though my heart, and I know without a shadow of doubt, union is already occurred, so to speak. Now, the measure of twin flames coming into physical union is a measure of the spiritual twin, the feminine, the receptivity to the higher consciousness, can sit in her queen, her sovereignty, because that's where we are in evolution. We now get to feel our way through life instead of thinking logically. We have evolved out of having to work harder, doing, because that's extremely masculine. Thank you for the structures you've created. Now we get to transcend them through embodiment, through union of the inner masculine and inner feminine. And as you live and you make your life and your being, you magnetize the other side of yourself. And then the masculine begins to wake up to the spiritual aspect of the connection. And that has to be a sovereign journey. Because a queen does not convince her king that she needs worship, that she needs partnership, that she is in need at all. She doesn't need anything. Your inner queen is nurtured and nourished by you nourishing your inner child. Because until you heal your inner child, your inner masculine and feminine are all out of whack. There's trauma. It's a trauma pairing on the inside. And as you have a trauma pairing on the inside, you magnetize with your battery self, your trauma pairing on the outside. And that is the polarity of the divine matrix. That is toxicity. But if you're listening to this, you ain't part of that clan or that crew, are you? Because you're conscious. You're making great decisions. Choose your thoughts. They create your reality. Know yourself. Know your wounds and your triggers. What does this have to do with Jesus and Mary? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So we got to hear all about what Jesus did. What he did. He was so masculine. He was so earthy about it. We never got to hear about who Mary was. There's just something about Mary, right? She was being. She was there. She saw it all. She felt it all. She has a testimony. But thank you to the patriarchy, which is just simply the dark masculine in all of us. And it had to play out the way that it played out and is playing out. So let the breakdown break down. But it had to play out. Because how else do we overcome the constraints of the matrix? We have to be off balance, out of sync, out of alignment in order to come into embodiment. And once masculine and feminine unite, you have a climax that you have never experienced yet. The closest we get in this dimension to touching the face of God and receiving the breath of life is orgasm. Fight me. All in. That is so risque, and I'm kind of feeling awkward. So I'm going to go ahead and land the plane there. I love you, and yeah, just leave a comment, because, hey, yo.